Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge Podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider, as well as lead Lakers content creator for Offside, joined on this fine, what is it, Harrison, Wednesday?
Today is Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday by Harrison Fagan. And today on the show, we're going to be talking about the last 50 games or so, right? We are basically a game away from, or actually a game away from the trade deadline. So I'm going to talk about the season, or the, what did I say? The All-Star break, not the trade deadline.
Yeah.
It's on the front of my mind, but
there might be some trades during the All-Star break, among the, can Team World trade with Team USA?
I don't know. It's after the trade deadline, so you can't.
Yeah. They're like, no, LeBron demanded to represent the international team.
So we will talk about the previous 50 games getting to here and our expectations heading into them and where they stand now. We'll talk about what we would like to see from them moving forward. I've also started to notice that LeBron James is starting to get a little more vocal, I would say, about how he feels about the situation, and that feels noteworthy to me as we head down potentially the home stretch of the Lakers LeBron era. And then I've also noticed this thing, Harrison, because I don't think you and I have spoken since the either right before or during the deadline, basically.
It was the night. It was the night of the deadline. It was after they did nothing. We talked. It was the last time we talked.
Right. So,
or sorry, they added Luke Kennard. I shouldn't say they did nothing, but they didn't do a lot.
Right. And so, over the course of the last week or so, basically since the deadline, and the Lakers have also filled their final roster spot with Kobe Buffkin, a move that I disagreed with, and people are just adamant that it was the right thing to do, especially at the time.
So you disrespecting Kobe again, no surprise there.
It's just what I do. But yeah, I've noticed that the not just news cycle, but the Twitter analysis cycle has gone back to, well, no, I mean, it's what could Rob have actually done? And we'll just wait till what happens in a few months from now when the Lakers have cap space and assets and stuff like this. And it's I think part of it is that because I kind of knew what the trade deadline was going to bring about. And then I don't know if people noticed this, but I was getting more and more and more angry the closer that we got to the deadline. And it was because because you hear these things and you're like, no way. Really? We're punting again. And then, we not only did they punt the trade deadline by only, using a second rounder for a Luke Kennard rental. But then they kind of sort of punt the buyout market as well by converting a guy who was already in their system, and no NBA team was like, we need Kobe Buffkin, those 40 points.
Did Redick's comments not imply that to you? It seemed to me like he was implying that there was another team that was going to try and offer him at the very least a two-way spot, so they felt like they had to keep him. Redick, when he was talking about why they signed Buffkin, it sounded like he thought that he was implying that there were other teams after him.
I did not hear anything about that. I heard what Redick said, but I'm just saying that I just think it's an explanation that you use after the fact. The reality there is that the Lakers really like Kobe Buffkin in his draft class. They got him into their system. Rob has really liked what he's seen from Kobe since. Rob was very much pro. This is going to shock everybody. Pro Kobe during the draft process. He I guess they both went to Michigan or something like that. Like Kobe had just recently kind of mentioned that, like in his post signing quotes and stuff, and so like Rob has been after Kobe Buffkin for a while now, and seeing as the Lakers don't have a pro scouting department, and the small one that they had before is now been stripped for parts, like
they have a college scouting department currently.
like you
Do they have
know.
a scouting department?
Not really. And so it was like, but anyway, so yeah, anyway, my larger point here is that like we've now arrived at the point where everybody seems to agree that the front office sucks. But when I bring up specific things that the front office does, they're like those specific moves people get defensive over the specific moves. And it's like, if we agree that the front office sucks and I provide examples, you don't get to like pick and choose or like
Yes, I do.
every single example that I present, But anywho, I want to talk about that at some point. I also really quickly, Harrison, want to talk about tanking before we dive into everything, because I've noticed the conversation and Jazz fans are acting super newsmaxy, so I think that's been to pay attention to. So I want to hit on that too. Quick reminder, please hit that like and subscribe button, hit that share button as well. That helps us quite a bit. If you guys are listening in podcast form, please subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcast, preferably on Odyssey, but I do not care where you listen, so long as you listen, and download your shows to like this specific show to all of your friends and family's phones. Again, no matter which app you choose to do that with, I'm fine with that as well.
Get them a virus. We don't care.
Yeah. It's even better if you do that because it makes it harder for them to turn off auto delete or auto, all right. I want to just really quickly touch on this like tanking thing because Bobby...
Can I also just say Newsmaxy, the title of my unsuccessful Maxi Kleber news blog.
I don't know why that wouldn't take off.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be my LeBron wire. I thought there was a demand. People had a demand for Maxi,
Or I bet like it took off like when you first launched it and like you had a whole bunch of interest that you did not want.
Yeah, they're like, what is this? What who's Maxi Kleber?
All right. So the tanking thing, and I don't want to spend a ton of time of it because we do have some other stuff that I want to get to, but for some reason people are unwilling to grant that what like the Utah Jazz have been doing for the last 2 seasons is an escalation of tanking that we have not seen before. Because remember, Harrison, back when the Lakers were tanking,
yeah, you just hired Byron Scott, and that's what you did.
Yeah,
it used to just be you just hired a horrendous coach, and you let them
bunch
just
of bad
talk
players.
about how threes were devil magic, and like
and it's like, if a team employs a bad coach and has a bunch of bad players, there isn't really much a league can do about it, right? Like, like the reason the league stepped in with Hinkie is because like they didn't have certain players available all the time, and they were like bragging about the process and stuff. And I think that was something that the league was right to step into.
He was pretty proudly like an asshole to like all the agents and players and whatever. And it's like, that's the kind of thing where like enough people are going to complain to Adam Silver that he's like, I'm tired of this. Put in a Colangelo.
Right.
And that like the Jazz are really nice to all their players while tanking, they're.
But so what the Jazz are doing now though, and the reason that I find it legitimately bad for the sport is they are like the cliche that used to exist about tanking was like teams and franchises tank, players don't, coaches don't. And so like if you were watching a game
I would dispute that, by the way. I mean, when coaches used to let Mark Madsen take like 10 threes in a game when the average like team 3-point attempts was 10. So I think, coaches have always been involved in the tanking a little more than that stereotype. But players, I agree, in general, do not tank.
Yeah, and I think that is still the case, right? The players do not tank. Like when they get out there on a basketball court, they're playing for their professional lives.
No, it's like the Wizards are signing deliberately like bad players. It's like those guys are trying. They're just not good at basketball.
But that's how you're like that. What's the phrase that's making the rounds? Ethical tanking, right? Like that's ethical tanking.
No, what the Kings are doing is ethical tanking, just pure ethical ass. It's no lineup gimmicks. They're just a horrendous basketball team.
When you have a team that has a good coach, right? He is widely considered a good basketball coach. And you have, so like if Byron Scott like played Ronnie Price, or when Byron Scott played Ronnie Price over Jordan Clarkson, it was like, what are we supposed to do? Byron's an idiot,
Yeah.
But with what's the coach's name there in Utah?
Will Hardy.
With Will Hardy, he's widely considered a really good coach, has had moments where he's proven himself to be a really good coach. And so like when he just chooses not to play Jaren Jackson Jr. down the home stretch of a game that Utah Jazz just happened to lose, like that is him making a decision that he would not normally make. And I guess what I've been thinking about all day, Harrison, is like, I don't understand what the difference is between what like the Jazz are doing and like what the league kicked out Jonte Porter for doing. All of it.
That is quite the take.
But like I think it's an entire organization basically deciding, the outcome of games and doing whatever they can to negatively impact the outcome of that game. I don't understand what the difference is. I actually think what the Utah Jazz are doing is worse.
I disagree, because I think that this is not on the Jazz to me. We have teams that people complain about every year. Maybe not to this is a new frontier of what the strategy looks like to intentionally tank. Like we haven't seen teams play their good players for 3 quarters and then like play the bad ones in the fourth so that they can blow the lead. Like that's new. And so, that is different about what the Jazz are doing. But the Jazz are just doing what the NBA has incentivized them to do. The NBA, by rewarding losing and by very selectively punishing this lineup chicanery, where it's like, hey, we're looking into the Thunder, and their like injury reporting pattern, but like, other teams are just going to shut down guys willy-nilly, and like the Wizards are just not going to play any of their players ever, and all this stuff. Like we're not really going to look into that, but like we're going to randomly like punish the Jazz because like a couple of writers like noticed that like they were sitting Laurie randomly, and like now or like the Thunder complained to us that the Jazz were blatantly tanking to hold on to their pick that they were going to get otherwise.
Right.
And so like this is a consequence of this is what happens when you have weak leadership, and this is what happens when nobody is afraid of Adam Silver. And so the Jazz said, hey, look, you want to like, it is in our best interest to lose these games to try and keep our draft pick. Like that's inarguable that they should try to hold on to that first round pick this year. They're not going to win a championship this year. They should try to get that best asset possible. So, when last year, when Adam Silver just comes in and he's like, hey, we're fining you for resting these guys, the Jazz say, okay, well, but we don't respect you. And so we're just going to play them at the start of the game so that you can't fine us. But then we're going to deliberately stick both middle fingers up at you and sit them down the stretch and like blatantly lose. But like, what are you going to do? Because we played our guys. We followed the player participation policy. And so like, this is where you see, it's stuff, everything. We've seen a lot of consequences of teams not being afraid of Adam Silver and not thinking that he would crack down on them throughout the course of this year, whether everything from the Pablo Torre investigation into the Clippers and aspiration and everything to stuff like this. It's just that nobody cares about this guy or thinks that he's going to seriously punish them or do anything. And so, of course, they're going to just nakedly do whatever is in their best interest. It's not their job to protect the game. That's Adam Silver's job.
But he did come down hard on Jonte Porter. Like he did. And that's an easier thing for him to do.
Yeah,
And
that was it's easy. Jonte Porter broke the rules. What the Jazz are not breaking any rules here. You know what I mean? Like the Jazz are, if anything, the Jazz are basically giving gamblers a heads up that it's like, hey, probably live bet us to lose. You know, we're probably not going to win this game. Like, we've given you the signals that we are not trying to win. If you are betting money on us to win, you are like, that is a stupidity tax at this point. And so, like, what Jonte Porter was doing was he was coming in and he was like, all right, like, I'm ready to play, coach. And then he was like, I'm sick. And then checking out. That's a little different.
I guess I just don't see much difference there. You know, like, at the end of the day, neither party are.
I'm not arguing either is good for the game, but the Jonte Porter one to me is a more clear cut. Like telling people, hey, I'm not going to, like, hey, by the way, bet my unders tonight because I am going to play, but I'm going to check myself out and fake an injury is a little different than like, you know, we're just going to play our
bet my unders because we're going to start. I'm going to start tonight, but Coach Hardy's going to pull me after the third quarter. Like, no, I'm not. I don't even think we're necessarily disagreeing. Like you just said. I think it's just that, like, the party that like Adam Silver came down on is an easy one with Jonte Porter. It's one player, and if you frame it as just a one-off guy, and you get him out of the league, he's gone. The headache is gone. Everybody moves on. You can't come down on the Utah Jazz.
Well,
as an entire organization,
to come down on an employee than to come down on your boss. And when it comes down to it, the Jazz are Adam Silver's boss.
Right. Well, yes. And you know, same goes for and it's just like, remember how everybody, and I was one of them, right, who was like, Adam Silver, best commissioner ever because he got Donald Sterling up out of there because of the racist remarks that Donald. Be absolutely clear, I am not like, bro. I don't think Donald Sterling should still be in the league.
He clearly made the right call there.
It was absolutely, but it was such an easy call.
Yeah,
this guy's on, like, you can hear his audio, his voice saying these horrendous things.
And I think he also, I think Adam Silver, the way that I think that there could probably be studies to be done on how that impacted Adam Silver's commissionership, getting so much praise out of the gate. It's like, oh, this is the good commissioner. This is the guy we like. And like how that may have altered, you know, his willingness to sort of be an asshole like David Stern was. And like sometimes the commissioner's job is to be an asshole. Like if David Stern was still the commissioner, the Jazz would not be doing this shit because David Stern would say, hey, do that again. And I'm just docking you your first round pick. It's just gone.
Will Hardy, you ever want to work in basketball again? Not the NBA. Yeah. You will be able to coach the Washington Generals. Like, you know, and that's the thing that I've been thinking about over the course of the day is like, I think what the Utah Jazz are doing is unethical. It's bad. And it calls into question the legitimacy of what fans are paying real money to go out and watch night by night. You know,
I'm not going to disagree with you that it's bad for the sport. I just don't think it's the Jazz's job to fix it. I think it's the league's.
Well, so this is another thing that I've been thinking about because, and I think this is the commissioner's job to remind players and teams that they should care about this. But what far too many teams and players and coaches and like just the entire league, what they have forgotten, I think, over the last few years is that the health of the league matters more than
I agree with you, but whose job is it to remind them that that's important?
Yeah. No, I think that's the commissioner's job. And Adam Silver, like, this is the spot where Adam Silver has failed the most.
For doing these things that are bad for the game, then they wouldn't do them because they are self-interested. But the thing, he's given them no self-interest reason to not just do whatever they want.
But also it's like, not just agreeing, I'm saying, and also, like, it's kind of like where we kind of reside as a society, right? Where it's like,
yeah, I mean, yes.
You know, like at some point, we have to care about the common man too. We have to care about the world outside of ourselves. And the moment that we all basically just decide that it's like, it's a free for all, we could all just get away with whatever we want to get away with, we're fucked. It's
I'm
over.
gonna go ahead and guess,
You
though,
can't trust your neighbors at that point.
that hyper competitive people in very unstable jobs in a 30-team league are not going to be the ones to lead the vanguard of like, I got to do what's best for the league here. Like, they all have their own day-to-day incentives. They're all under the gun every single day. I mean, the players less so, but like, Will Hardy could get fired and never get another head coaching job. He's got to do what he's got to be a good organizational man. Like, the front office, I mean, Danny Ainge probably doesn't need another job at this point, but it's like, they have to do their owner's bidding. And if their strategy to maintain employment the longest is to, hey, we're going to tank because you can't get mad at me for bad results if bad results are the plan, then, like, I can't really fault them for that. Like, everyone wants to remain employed.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just societal lines do eventually have to be drawn, and like, yes, you're right that these are like particularly more high stress jobs and more sought after jobs than almost anywhere else in the world. I will grant all of that. But like, everybody exists in high stress. Like, the only people who don't seem like we all are living in one way or another, trying to scrap and scrape and claw to a more comfortable life than we currently have, or even tougher, to continue to manage the same life that we currently have as it comes under fire from a variety of different angles. And it's like, if we just accept, what, I'm out for number one, or I'm out for what's best for my family, it allows you to explain away doing all kinds of really shitty things in the name of just trying to get by, man. And I think what we're kind of seeing here from the Utah Jazz, and by extension their fans, is like, I give two shits about the league. Without the league, there's no Utah Jazz, you freaking idiots. Like,
yeah,
that's the part of this.
Again, if I'm a Jazz fan, I'm just saying the Jazz are just being more honest about what plenty of other teams have done over the years.
I don't know that they're being more honest. I think they're taking it to the next natural step.
They're taking it to the next logical extreme. This is the natural continuation of Mark Madsen shooting 97 3-pointers in a Timberwolves game,
Right.
Like, this is where that road leads. Eventually it's going to lead to, like, Adam Silver will probably be thrilled about this, but I was joking on Twitter yesterday that, like, where this is going to lead is, like, NBA teams are going to, like, sign Mr. Beast to a 10-day contract so that he can talk about, like, face mogging in an NBA game, and, like, they can get, like, their basketball like content out on YouTube and whatever. And Adam Silver's like, look at all the impressions we're getting as he gets back cut on defense. And like, that's the next avenue of tanking.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this from an apparently extremely macro perspective. And it just kind of, it annoys me because, like, the Lakers at any point, like, while Dr. Buss was in charge, could have basically operated in their own self-interest and just absolutely crushed teams with the extra assets or resources that they had at the time, and instead, Dr. Buss, at least according to a lot of the stories that you read after the fact, and who knows how much of this is deifying or ideological, turning this guy into an ideologue rather than whatever he was at the time. But he did always kind of preach about, like, the health of the league has to matter here too. And I think this can be said about players too, because we're heading into another All-Star game where Adam Silver has put together another set of stupid rules to hopefully get these players, we're nearing the point, Harrison, where, like, career earnings are going to jump up above $1 billion. So, like, they're trying to find all these ways to get these guys to care and to try hard in this game. And, like, what they should really be trying hard about, or why they should care, is because, like, the health of the league should matter to them. And if the health of the league just suddenly dissipates because nobody wants to tune into the regular season, nobody wants to tune into the All-Star game, nobody wants to tune into the slam dunk contest, like, if all of those things go away, because of tanking, because of apathy towards the 82 game season, because of the apathy towards this extracurricular thing at the midway point to the season, then the league ceases to exist in the same way that it exists and pays these guys the astronomical amounts of money that they are making. And I guess it kind of drives me nuts when I always hear people say, "Oh, well, what if they tried this? And what if they tried?" Nick Wright proposed a race war as like to get guys to care about the fucking All-Star game.
Did you see the viral tweet that put Chet Holmgren on a team that you would not normally associate him with?
I was sitting there thinking
that made me laugh very hard.
If it's black guys and white guys, and if Yao Ming was in the league, where would he play? Yao's the ref.
We're getting like the Chappelle Show race draft, like for the guys that don't cleanly fit into the buckets.
All right, guys. This year for the All-Star game, we're actually putting together a model UN, and we're gonna see how this thing goes. But like I always hear these like crazy outlandish ideas, and I'm guilty of it too. Like I like putting together ways to fix the All-Star game, but I also sometimes think that kind of lets the subjects and the actual like the perpetrators of the problem, it lets them slide, and this actually probably we're going kind of out of order here, but like it's kind of like what I hear with Rob Pelinka, where it's like, oh well, it makes total sense to sign Kobe Buffkin at a time when nobody was interested in Kobe Buffkin and the buyout market hadn't taken full shape because he's punting on the season. And at no point do I hear the people making that argument stop and ask themselves, wait, should we be punting on the season? And meanwhile, Rob is just like, mogging? He's mogging everybody during every press conference that he, tailors specifically to the people who will ask the right questions.
Like, I think Rob has resting mog face.
Resting mog face. But you kind of like we can move on and we could talk about the Lakers here, and maybe we just do. But that's the part of this that kind of drives me nuts, is that like we as a society have basically just made the decision that, you know what, whatever I do for myself, that's all that matters. And whatever I do for like to continue to exist in the world that I want it to be, like that's all that matters. And it's allowed grifters to become more of a thing than it ever was. And it's allowed the Jazz to do like to take tanking out to the nth degree, to a point where they are literally throwing games, or trying to throw games. Shouts to the Pacers that like, or whatever team that the Jazz beat or whatever, for somehow throwing it harder, I guess it was the Heat, but it's like,
did you see what Bam said after that game? He's like, we got to get better at beating the teams that are trying to lose.
Yeah. Like it's just, I don't know. We can go out of order. I want to talk about the Pelinka thing, because have you noticed this, Harrison, that like everybody has kind of moved on to, well, this is just a reality. This season was just never going to work out. Gosh darn it, and like I remember, I think back to the things that I said at coming off of last offseason, where it was like the Lakers had a fine, if not good, offseason, given the parameters that they were kind of placing around themselves, right? And like they executed their offseason about as well as they could, given that they didn't want to use draft capital on stuff and they didn't want to take on longer term money. And it's like, that's fine if you're just looking at the offseason within that context, but none of the Lakers competition is looking at the offseason in that way. And in some cases, the gap that the Lakers were hoping to make up got wider. And now you arrive at a trade deadline, which is like, oh, gosh darn it, didn't trade, championship or bust, another bust here. And everybody has just kind of moved on Rob's role. And Luka Doncic has been a Laker. He'll be heading into a second straight postseason as a Laker with a roster that nobody actually believes in. And everybody is just kind of like fine with it. And I don't know. Is this the kind of thing that only I get driven mad about, or is this something that people should care about more?
So again, I will, offline over the years, you and I have had a conversation a bunch of times, and maybe online, about my Yelp review theory that most replies are people that are like, if they're writing a lot, it's because they disagree. Like, nobody goes to the Yelp
Yeah.
reviews of the restaurant
Yeah.
and they're like, I had a great time, and let me give you 6 bullet points on like why this server was great and whatever. It's like, no, like they openly spit in my food, and somebody kicked my chair out from under me when I was trying to sit down, and and like
Yeah.
all this stuff. So the people that are arguing, the toxic positivity people that are arguing with you and saying like, no, this is fine, actually, like a lot of that is because you are reacting negatively. If you were like, hey, hell yeah, Kobe Buffkin, you'd have a bunch of people in your mentions saying like, no, this guy sucks, like the Lakers are punting on the season and this is horrible.
Yeah.
So like you
Oh,
you
okay. So
always
basically,
draw.
like, no matter what opinion I give, I'm always going to notice the detractors, and there's always
Yes,
going to be detractors. Okay.
exactly. And so some of this is that, because I have seen also like a fair amount of people that are upset about like this, or at the very least like not thrilled with them, punting on it. And like, okay, I kind of understand it. Like, longtime listeners of this feed will remember our guy Alex Regla, who wrote at Silver Screen and Roll today, the Lakers all in bet on the summer better pay off. After years of kicking the can down the road, the Lakers must get busy living this summer or else. Which is possibly the most ominous deck SSR has ever run.
Alex is sitting outside the regulators. Like, yeah.
Alex is parked outside Rob Pelinka's house right now.
You know what, Alex? Wait right there. I'll be there in 14 hours.
Yeah. And so I think that this is where basically where I was at last week when you and I did our post-trade deadline show of like, I don't really care that much about this deadline, because as Exiler's pointing out in the comments right now, as I'm sure you're aware, there weren't that many needle moving moves available at this deadline that I'm like, oh man, I'm really mad the Lakers didn't go and get so-and-so guy or whatever. But where I'm at is when you keep kicking the can down the road and you keep saying, okay, well, next transaction window is like our real free agency. And the free agency, that's going to be like our real trade deadline because we'll have more picks and whatever. And you've done this enough times that the plan needs to work this summer. Either you sign Giannis, or if you're going to say, hey, we're punting potentially our last season of employing both LeBron and Luka, then your plan had better be better this summer. Because if this summer you get there and you're like, hey, we just had to wait for LeBron's contract to expire, which is like a crazy sentence in and of itself. But now we have all this flexibility to sign players. If you use that flexibility to go trade for Giannis, then like, okay, you were probably right about hanging on to that flexibility, and that was ultimately a good move. If you use it to go sign your version of Timofey Mozgov and Luol Deng, then it's like, okay, you should probably be fired because that was a terrible plan. And so, we need this summer, I think, is ultimately the judgment point for Rob. And I know that fans are frustrated with hearing about that, but like ultimately this was the plan. Last year, I think is totally defensible what they did at the trade deadline. If you have the chance to make the trade for Luka, you obviously do that 10 out of 10 times. But the problem with that is it completely mismatches your roster to the point that it was like you weren't going to be able to fix that in one transaction window to go from like all defense player Anthony Davis to all offense player Luka Doncic, and be able to sort of balance the team out around those two very different styles in that swap. And so I think that's totally understandable. And then from there, the Lakers have basically said, we are targeting 2026 as our summer when we can make moves. When LeBron's contract comes off the books, we have Austin at a lower cap hold before we need to re-sign him. And this is when we're going to make our move. And it's like, okay, then you better make your move. Because if you're telling me this summer that, well, Rui had a good playoffs, and so like re-signing him and re-signing Austin, that's like kind of like signing a superstar free agent. Those guys are still developing. Like, I don't want to hear that.
It's funny. So Pete and Jovan and I have our group text to arrange Great Western Forum, and then over the course of the deadline, we were kind of like, talking about the things that we're hearing that the Lakers are maybe thinking about doing, and what we would like to see the Lakers do, names that we would like to see them target and stuff. And Giannis has also obviously been a big part of that conversation. I'm not going to give away anything that Jovan and Pete said privately, but I will say what I've said privately, which is like, all right, what's to stop Rob? Go out and get Giannis. Okay. You're not going to have anything left over to improve the team with afterward. So you get to the next trade deadline after you've acquired Giannis. What's to stop Rob from being like, well, we got to see how we can do next summer when we have a little bit more flexibility, a few more assets, and we can build around Giannis and Luka. You know what I mean?
That is no longer a compelling argument to me. See, that's more like when you and I were criticizing them in the early years of the LeBron AD when they clearly still had it. And it's like, why are you doing nothing? These two guys are still at worst both top 10 players in the NBA. And you are just deciding like, no, I'm going to make them sit in the mess they made as a punishment instead of like trying to win or whatever. You know, because like I'm mad that they made me trade for Russell Westbrook. And I need to blame them so that I can like get my golden parachute extension, you know, a couple times and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that people would let that fly if it's a Giannis and Luka team. I think he would not be able to sell like, hey, you know, Giannis and Luka got to prove to me that they're worth investing in. And so like, you know,
but even if it isn't,
nobody's buying that.
Also, by the way, you know, Giannis is not young. He's going to be 32. Like, I could totally see a world where, you know, we start getting leaks. The Lakers are just kind of surprised that, you know, the somewhat slight dip in athleticism that they've seen from Giannis, you know, and, you know, it's a bigger lift to build a team around Giannis and Luka than it may have been 5 years ago. And it's just like my larger point, even if we don't get into the specifics of like a Luka and Giannis thing specifically, it's more, and ironically, we kind of already broached this point with Silver. Once you let a front office off the hook by way of their explanation that they gave you back during the Anthony Davis and LeBron era, the tail end of it. Once a front office knows that they can just talk to local media, limit the number of local media who they actually talk to, and make sure that their appearances are only on state TV. Like, once they realize that they can sell to the fans, and the fans are a significant part of the fan base, will just accept, well, you know, maybe Giannis is kind of, you know, on the other side of 30. And, you know, Luka played a lot of minutes in Europe, and those are tougher minutes than guys playing college. Like, once we excuse away the kicking of the can, there's nothing that will actually stop this front office other than new ownership whenever they are allowed to fully step in and recalibrate the front office. But this front office, they've been allowed to kick the can for so long that it's just who they are. You know, like I think their self-preservation by way of kicking that can is the one common factor in their tenure here. And the more that we arrive at the other side of trade deadlines and on the other side of buyout markets and heading into postseasons, plural, where Luka in his prime will be entering a postseason with a roster that nobody actually believes in. Not even the Lakers believe in this front office or this roster.
I don't know, Anthony. I think I've heard the Lakers think they're playoff killers. Okay, first right. Unathletic, slow team to dominate the postseason.
Yeah. But that, you know, once we as a fan base and those of us with platforms, you know, allow them to exist off of their own excuses, then we're done. This is just who the front office becomes. And that's why, like, people always kind of get on me for, oh gosh, you're always so negative. You're always so this, you're always so that. It's just like, because I was raised at a time where we expected more of the Los Angeles Lakers, you know, like I just that era maybe completely a bygone era where there were more dumber teams that existed back then, but I don't know. I still think the Lakers should be held to a much higher standard. You know who else probably agrees?
LeBron.
LeBron, after the Lakers lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder, was asked to compare the Lakers to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and he was like, "That's a championship team over there. We are not one." And then he had another post.
Could you imagine, as an aside, like if he had just done the Dave McMenamin, just like they're like, "Can you compare this Lakers roster to the Thunder?" He's like, "Championship team."
Championship team, DeAndre Ayton.
Like, championship team, champion shit team over here.
He'd have been so proud of himself. He followed that up by putting this out on his social media, on his Instagram story. It's a quote from Jillian Turecki, who says or said, "Behind every happy couple is the reality that a relationship isn't 50-50. Some days one person is struggling, whether it's stress, grief, or exhaustion, and the other has to step up and hold steady. Happy couples don't keep score."
I see you took that as a Lakers thing. I took that as like Savannah got mad at me for not doing the dishes this morning. And like, I just want to be like, "Hey, no, we don't keep score here."
No, I think he was like, "Savannah, I want to go back to Cleveland." And she's like, "Abso-fucking-lutely not." And he
like,
says,
"Sometimes people have to sacrifice. Maybe fit in instead of fitting out."
Exactly. I would also say that like what Jillian kind of describes there is still 50-50, right? Like,
yeah. It's 50-50 that you're trusting that it's 50-50. You're not actually keeping the score to know that it's 50-50. Like the scoreboard's turned off, but you're just like, "I think we're playing about even here."
So when you combine the like scoreboard aspect of that quote, right, and that post, and you combine that with, the reports of pettiness from Jeannie Buss and the Rambi and Rob Pelinka and the Lakers at large towards Clutch and LeBron and all that stuff, this feels like kind of sort of admittance or admittal. He's admitting that shit was true.
You got all that from an Instagram quote.
Yeah.
See, it's funny. I took that completely differently. I thought that was just him being like, "Damn, this is like real insight about like marriage is hard." He's like,
I don't think he posts about it. He would never post about his actual marriage. Absolutely not.
I don't know. He's like subtweeted his own teammates multiple times. Like, I don't.
He doesn't care about his teammates. He cares about his wife.
He can be passive aggressive sometimes. I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, I'm not ruling it out. Maybe he's not being passive aggressive to her. He's just like, "Hey, this is the bedrock of our relationship, is that we don't keep score, and I want other couples out there to be as happy as me and Savannah are."
I don't think Savannah wants any part of their marriage out in the open at all. Like,
see, I did not take it as a Lakers thing at all. I like
really.
When you posted that in there,
let me know
like,
what you guys think. I thought it was 100%. I thought it was 100% a Lakers thing.
No, I took it as like LeBron. Oh, damn, LeBron really is like getting close to retirement. Like he's just posting like couples memes, like an elderly millennial Facebook couple.
So wait, did you think like the fit out thing was like, he didn't like how his outfit turned out that day, or what?
No, I mean that was clearly different, but.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think he would ever post about like his personal life on his, like, to that extent, where he's talking about like.
I mean, he's about the right age. 40 is when you start posting memes that are like hashtag women be like on like your Facebook, like that's like, hashtag husband problems.
So like I talk obviously about my family a lot here, right? And I'm also very careful, like when I talk about my family, there are some moments where I open up a little bit. There are other moments where, there are some aspects of my family and my relationship I'm going to keep very quiet. I think the audience here is kind of used to that dynamic. This would be completely out of left field, like from like what LeBron has done as it pertains to his family. But all right,
Should I post? I'm sorry. As you were talking, I was just thinking, should I post this meme on my Twitter and see what Mia thinks it's about? Does she think it's about my work or?
That's what I'm saying. Like, unless Savannah is right there next to him as he's posting that, and he's like, Savannah,
should I just quote tweet
this?
Be like, damn, wise words. I'm doing it. I'll report back next week.
I hope Mia walks into your room right now that you're recording from and just slaps.
I think she's taking a nap right now, so she's gonna be mad later. But we'll see.
All right, let's move on. We'll do the look back another day because people want to know about this Sohan thing.
And well, also I saw Raj had a question in the chat, our Lakers Lounge exclusive chat of what is mogging, and the answer is none of us know. Anthony and I are too old to know.
Yeah, there are those tweets in like I don't know what they are. They're like recaps of things that happen on social media, right?
Yeah,
and they feature all of that language, and I genuinely
Clavicular just got face mogged while maxing at an ASU frat.
Yeah, and like some chemical drops or something like that.
Yeah, his cortisol dropped.
Yeah. I never know honest to God, I never know when they are being serious or when it's parody over the situation.
Yeah,
I cannot.
I have assumed that a lot of it is parody, but I actually don't know. Like,
yeah, I have truly never felt older than for this entire last 30 seconds.
That's going to be all the, like, instead of like beat reporters, like asking the All-Stars, like questions at All-Star media availability, like somebody's going to ask, like, like I'm trying to think, like they're going to be like, Nicola, do you feel like you face mogged LeBron or on like when you face mogged LeBron in the Western Conference Finals, like his cortisol dropped?
I'm just picturing Jokic. Actually, Jokic just like speaking that language would be the funniest moment of All-Star weekend. All right. The Sohan thing, I maintain that I think it was kind of unwise to sign Kobe Buffkin when the Lakers did. And Sohan, he's another Vanderbilt basically, but with the Lakers going bigger and playing a switchier defense and focusing more on defense, especially after the Kennard acquisition, having another guy like Sohan available to guard at the point of attack, to me, is a lot more valuable than Kobe Buffkin being able to dribble against the San Antonio Spurs when nobody on the Lakers was available to dribble. So that was I don't think the Lakers have much of a chance at Sohan unless he comes in on a two-way or something like that, which he is technically still eligible for. The Lakers do not have the space under the first apron to sign Sohan for the rest of the season. And they won't have that space for another couple of weeks. And I would imagine that some team that does have the space to be able to do that would jump at the opportunity to land Sohan before the Lakers eventually can. So,
you know what I always say? What's better than one Vando? Two Vandos.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Look, it's what's better than 5 combo guards? 6 combo guards.
Like, I mean, fair. Actually, fair point. Yeah. I mean, I guess like, it's end of the roster. Beggars can't be choosers. Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah. All
right. Let's go ahead and dive on into the super chat here. Starting with the most important sound on the show. All right. The first one here that I saw comes from Bashir, who writes, Giannis's Chelsea investment in Mark Walter owns Chelsea equals Giannis and Mark Walter behind the scenes. Tinfoil hat theory, possibly. Yeah, I mean,
like I just said,
look,
Adam Silver has done a lot of great things for the NBA, and I think him just like letting players have the freedom to do stuff like this is awesome when it benefits my team, maybe potentially.
yeah. I will just say that, like,
Giannis, pro tip. Hold on, let me talk to the camera really quick. Giannis, do the ad for Chelsea though. Okay, just do at least one ad so that when they pay you, like, there's no paper. Pablo Torre can't get you if you just do one ad. Okay,
even take a picture with Chelsea Clinton, like,
yeah,
anything.
You could post an AI Photoshop of yourself in a Chelsea jersey, and that's good enough.
Fine with me.
Literally,
Anything
if Kawhi would
whatsoever.
have just posted an AI photo of him planting a tree, Pablo Torre couldn't have done any of this.
I will also say that, like, teams and players talk to each other behind the scenes with much less, like, direct connection than people think there needs to be.
I still love this theory though.
No, me too.
Mark
Me too.
Walter,
I'm just saying that, like,
Mark Walter sold Giannis like a share of Chelsea at a massive discount as his like aspiration deal.
It's like the exact amount that it would take to employ Thanasis or something like that.
No, it's not even that. He's like, Giannis, I'll give you 7% of the team for $7.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I'm learning is that, like, percentage points are a lot harder to come by. It like, but, like, 7%.
Yeah, I mean,
think about it.
I'm making this up, but I love this theory, and like,
Yeah.
Honestly, Mark Walter should be doing that. There's no
In
consequences
reality,
for
it's
anything
more like
anymore.
point
Just tamper your ass off.
0.0007% of the company. But yeah. Next question comes from Machu. Thoughts on that article where Rob spoke about Walter's resources and how Rob and Jeannie will lead the front office build this summer? How many friends will they hire with Walter's money? That last sentence got me.
Are there any other Rambuses around, like, that can fill out these positions?
Well, so, like, I did want to call attention to that, and maybe I'll let's see, Rob Pelinka, Mark Walter, Jeannie, bus, front office. Let's see.
Yeah, I saw Rob. He did his post deadline availability with like the beat reporters, I think, and he said he was like excited about the resources and to build out the front office.
Yeah,
which is very funny because like everything that I've heard is like Rob likes to keep a small circle. And so like to me, that actually makes me optimistic that like he has not only heard the criticism of that, but also that Walter has made it clear to him, hey, you're building this out. And so Rob is like, yeah, I'm on board with that. I love extra people.
So the key phrase here is led by myself and Jeannie and with Mark's support, right? Talking about building out the front office and how when Mark Walter bought the Lakers, he, Rob, Jeannie, did a deep dive is the phrase that Rob used on.
Anyone ever say they did
Mark
a shallow
Walter's
dive?
businesses.
It's like, yeah, we just kind of skimmed it.
Yeah. You look, you got to be careful when you dive. You never know how deep it is.
Like, I just Googled Dodgers front office and it said like they're really good. So
can you honestly tell the difference between a 2-foot pole and a 5-foot pole? Like, you got to be careful when you dive. But so, yeah, so I was pretty much on board or all on board with the notion of like, I'm always going to be more on board with the notion of front office investment, organizational infrastructure builds, like the facelift that the Lakers very clearly need. I was all the way on board with it right up until that last phrase, led by myself and Jeannie, because
that
you're absolutely
like
establishing
territory and trying to save face and say like, no, I am still in charge. Like vultures, stop circling.
Yeah. But like,
I love this idea. I want as many voices as possible in the front. This was my idea. This wasn't Mark making me do it. Jeannie and I want to do this.
Yeah, right.
It's like when people say that they resign instead of being fired. Like he gave Rob the opportunity to say it was his idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
consciously recoupling by adding people.
Well, because I think I made this point to Raj, or maybe it was on a solo show or something like that. But it was like, look, the two key principles of Rob Pelinka's leadership is self-preservation, one, and small circles, two, because the small circles help preserve Rob Pelinka. The smaller the circle, the more important you seem to your employer. So like when it comes to this development or this potential development, I am going to be a little skeptical until I definitely see it. I can be excited about the possibility of it, but I'm also going to be very skeptical of it, because those two, foundational elements to Rob's leadership are butting heads with each other. They're like, those two things are mutually exclusive here. Because Mark Walter is probably going to tell him, hey, build out this front office. And if Rob says no, he gets fired. But then if Rob says yes, that makes him less important, and he could accidentally hire his replacement, right? So I need to see what this actually looks like in the event that it actually takes place. And I'm not gonna, like, because I've already spoken to some people who are like, this isn't Rob's character. And you look at the Lakers, basically since Rob got there, they have only gotten smaller, right? The front office has only gotten smaller since Rob got there.
I mean, no, the first year they hired Rambis, and that was like an addition. And then since then, it's only gotten smaller.
Well, no, like the first year they lost Magic.
Well, but no, they hired Rambis while Magic was there.
No, but I'm saying, all right, so Rob gets there when Magic gets there, right? They walk into the doors at the same time. Magic leaves and wasn't specifically replaced. Now, they said that, they brought Kurt in as a consultant, but he was already kind of there by way of his connection.
No, Kurt was there while Magic was there. Yeah, that was already a thing.
And I'm saying every other move that has been made by the front office has been getting smaller. I guess they built up the analytics department right when Magic got there, but as far as like organizational growth, we haven't seen almost any of it. And no matter who the Lakers bring in here, like this is kind of the thing that Rob has to navigate. If he brings in like people and the Lakers immediately get better, guess who gets the credit for, and credit matters to the people who are running the Lakers. The people who are going to get the credit, especially if it's like a bigger name that Rob brings in to run, like, be kind of his right-hand man or something like that, that guy's going to get a chunk of credit that Rob isn't going to be very comfortable with him getting. And I'm just, I don't know. I know I'm very cynical,
Rob is going to hate it when people are like tweeting. They're like, like smart addition by, like I'm just thinking like Troy Weaver's scouting department.
Right.
I mean, Troy Weaver, I would not argue to bring in. That would actually, I think, be like a downgrade. But whoever they add, widely regarded Scout X that they make their, and it's like anytime the Lakers make a move that fans like, they're like, oh, this guy, Lawrence Frank, great work.
And look, this is part of why when Mark Walter took over the Lakers, he just basically sat there and watched Ned Colletti and when he took over the Dodgers. He just kind of like sat there and watched Ned Colletti and Don Mattingly cook for a bit. And he was like, this meal isn't doing it for me. I'm going to go out and hire this Michelin chef in Andrew Friedman and let him surround himself with the best cooking support staff that has ever existed. And, the Dodgers grew that way. So like, that's, I guess, like, my final kind of response to this is that, like, this isn't how it went with the Dodgers. And I know this is a unique kind of situation here, and that Jeannie has some of this final say, but I don't think we will see the Lakers become the Dodgers equivalent until Rob Pelinka is gone. I think those two things are mutually exclusive.
I mean, I don't disagree with anything you said. I think to some degree we are probably stuck with Rob for at worst the next 4 years. But I also think that, again, like Mark Walter owns the team now. Like he can say, Genie's still running it day to day, whatever. Like if he has an opinion that is strong, like that opinion's going to get across.
Yeah. Jacques 6148. Thank you for the super chat. Didn't attach a question. I'm going to see if, here we go. What y'all thinking about the 200 influencers hit at the All-Star game? Adam Silver has destroyed the NBA. I did not take that news well and tweeted out that I would go down.
I couldn't get a credential this year. I'm in LA. I could not get a credential this year. Now SB Nation did get credentials, but like it does suck when it's like, so like they're bringing in 200 face moggers to like TikTok dance like during the game, and like that's like they're like, this is gonna get kids to watch anything but basketball.
The silly thing is, like, I have 2 young kids. They sat through let's see, what game was it? The Lakers played last Friday, or was it Friday night or Saturday night? When they won, I forget who they played. But my kids they stayed up a little longer. They watched and they loved the basketball. There were bright colors. There were great plays made. We cheered defense when it was time to cheer defense. We cheered for scoring. Now, my son doesn't necessarily know what was going on, so he was cheering basically anytime the ball went through the basket. But it was just like all.
Hey, he loves feats of athleticism. He hasn't decided to commit to the Lakers yet. He knows they make dad really mad, and he's like, I'm weighing my options.
That would be funny if like Avery was like, no, I hate the Lakers because they make daddy angry all the time.
Yeah.
But no, like
Celtics fan.
I think she would just be a Dodgers fan. She would just be like, you know what?
Yeah.
And look, after the World Series, like the reason I'm making this point is just like, this is how you appeal to younger generations, is like this wasn't the thing that needed to be revisited over generations. Like, it's not like Gen Z is so different from millennials, who were so different from boomers as it pertains to sports. Like, yes, there are more devices that, can draw your attention away from things than there were back then. So like, and baseball kind of recognized that, where it was like, okay, we can't play the sport at the same pace that your dad and your grandpa watched it at.
Yeah, games can't take 6 hours because people don't have 6 hours.
And like, to their credit, baseball addressed those things, and it's a more watchable game now. And my kids love it. Like during that World Series one that the Dodgers were just on, they loved it. For like a solid month, I couldn't wear any other hat than my Dodgers hat in front of Miles, as he just wanted to harken back to those moments of like rooting for the Dodgers in the World Series. And I think like that is the part of this that the basketball needs to, like, baseball addressed what made baseball boring when I considered it boring. Basketball has done nothing whatsoever to address why basketball games have become boring and why people don't tune in to a basketball game on a Wednesday night, because they don't even know who's going to play. They're just going to watch 50 3-pointers and 75 free throws. Like, at some point, we actually have to come to grips with the idea that, like, yeah, the sport itself needs some tweaking. We don't need fucking 200 influencers at the All-Star game to make it more appealing.
5-second rule on free throws, and it's actually enforced.
Yeah. Well, they should. Pete and I had this conversation years ago, but I've always liked the idea of, like, with the 3-pointers, teams get to decide like where the 3-point line sits.
Bill Simmons was actually talking about that on his pod today. He was saying like the Nuggets could just set it up. They just don't have one. They're like, good luck. You got to be able to win by 2.
Right. Well, and like Pete and I kind of laughed about this. Was back during the Locked On Lakers days, and I compared it to like baseball, where you play it Fenway Park and you have the Green Monster, and that's this completely unique batting experience that presents advantages and disadvantages to pitching and batting in that field. And with the Lakers, with this current team, you put the 3-point line basically where Rui likes to shoot off the dribble from, and they would be an offensive monster, but yeah. Let's see. I think we have one or two more here. Yep, here we go. James writes, guys, please have LA look at Trevor Brazile from Arkansas, 6'10", elite defender, 43% from three, high motor, can be had in the second round. I don't even know that I said Trevor Brazile's last name correctly. So
you could be a scout though this year. If they're fleshing out the front office, maybe Rob wants to bring in differentiating opinions, and he's like, this Anthony guy has never agreed with a single thing I've ever done. This is the kind of voice we need in the room.
Based on what I've heard, their top priority is still going to be like who gets along with us. So I don't think I'll be hired anytime soon. But no, that sounds like the kind of player that the Lakers could be interested in. I still want their draft capital to be used on impact players now, but it is tough. I was watching last night's game, and the fact that the Lakers have gotten nothing from 2 straight drafts is pretty tough. It's hard to do.
Oh, that's why they don't have a scouting department anymore, in part.
Well, that's where it's tough because do they not have a scouting department anymore because Rob steamrolled the scouting department and made bad picks and now gets to blame them for it? Or do they have do they not have a bad scouting
That's what
department?
Rob does. He just says, these guys made me do this thing that I did.
Right. How dare you make me bleed my own blood?
Yeah.
All right. This has been fun, Harrison. It always is. Anything that you want to plug before we get you out here?
No, just check out SB Nation and I'm actually sort of interested in the All-Star game this weekend. I still don't think that I understand the format at all, but I am actually curious to see if this does lead to any extra effort on behalf of the guys. I think I'm not super optimistic, but I'm curious to see if there is a little bit of the because we always see the players talking about the US versus Euro hoopers thing. Does this actually get them to buy in? Because in that case, Adam Silver, I will take back 1% of my criticism of you from this show.
But even there, just make it 2 teams. I don't know why they did the 3rd team thing.
Well, because they didn't want the players to get upset that there were less spots for Americans.
America first, huh?
Yeah, America first All-Star game. No better time. U.S. versus the world, baby. USA.
It winds up splitting up the caliber of the breaking up, the caliber of the American team.
They should do it. They should do U.S. versus the world, but it's like Civil War. So they have the Republican NBA All-Stars and then the liberal NBA All-Stars versus the world.
Jonathan Isaac finally makes a basketball an All-Star game. All right. On that note,
Jimmy Butler's give me the brace. I can play for this.
So, all right. So today, slightly different schedule. Obviously, I didn't record a show after last night's game because last night there was nothing to say about last night's game. And I wanted to make that up to you because what I want to do here is I'm going to take this down. It's going to stay on YouTube, but I'm going to edit it, throw it right onto the podcast feed right now. And then a little bit later tonight, Pete and Jovan and I are going to get together and record an episode of the Great Western Forum that will air in the morning when podcasts usually air. And then Friday, Pete and I are going to record an episode of The Hook. So we got plenty of stuff for you guys to carry you guys through the end of the week. So until then, and until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Harrison Fagan. This has been the Lakers Lounge. Have a great rest of your days. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you in a little bit.
Bye, everyone.